Paola Guthrie from Creating Purpose with Pao. I welcome you to the Spanglish World Network, Heart Network, and also the Spanglish Sport World Network channels 249, 250, 251. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app on the respective app stores. While you download it, please make sure that you rate it because feedback is important to us. The app is totally free. Zingo TV is available in Google Chromecast. Zingo TV is also available in Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also in all smart TVs from 2016 and forward. Thank you all for being here today. I would love to welcome Coach Hall. He is a big asset to our community here in Oklahoma, and I am so grateful that he's here with us.
Hey,
Welcome to the house.
thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Yay.
Yes,
So please share with us a little bit about you so we get to know you more.
oh my God, I don't know where to start. Um, my journey to Tahlequah started in 2000, 2001. But before then, I went to a school in Jamaica called GC Foster College. I've made some bad choices, but going to GC Foster was the seed that got this going for me. So after GC Foster, I ended up here and I played soccer. I was offered a scholarship to Northeastern State, and that's how I ended up here. And really, I could go deeper and deeper, but to stay within the time, I'll just give you the short version. Um, I First of all, coming to Talco, I didn't like it when I came here because I'm used to bigger cities. I lived in Manhattan for a while. I was in Florida, Atlanta. Yeah, so coming to Talco was kind of like, this isn't it. And then after playing sports and meeting some awesome people at Northeastern, and then I met more people in the wider community, and working at Talco has made me think that this is the second best place in the world to live.
That
Jamaica,
was the
Jamaica be number one.
okay.
So that's just a little bit about my background here. I've been teaching at Tahlequah Public Schools now for I'm starting my 17th year, and I'm
Wow.
looking forward to this one more than anything else. Yeah,
Wow.
I've gone from junior high to elementary, back to junior high, and now I'm at the high school. So I've worked with the entire spectrum of kids, and
Wow.
it's an absolute pleasure and a joy for me to do what I do here at Tahlequah. Um, right now, I'm not here by myself. Obviously, I've got a phenomenal wife. I met her here at in Tahlequah, and we're looking forward to her 15th anniversary. I know, yeah.
Yay. Yay.
we
So
were blessed. We were blessed with two sons, Kingston and Cash, and that's my life. That's my life
awesome.
right now. So
So was she the reason why you stayed in Tahlequah as well?
yes.
To be honest.
Well, uh, we were both younger, of course, and we met, and she made it easier for me. She kind of calmed me down without even trying. Just her spirit, and I really appreciated that. You know,
That's sweet.
she was right beside me doing in the initial stages of planting my roots in Tahlequah.
Hmm.
Everything. So yeah,
Awesome.
Jamie. Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm
That's
sorry,
beautiful.
you're getting me a little bit emotional, but yeah, come to think of it, yeah, she's
Good.
the main reason, and then of course my boys, and then the other people that I've met. That's one of the not one of. I think the biggest asset to Tahlequah are the people. You've got some phenomenal people here, so
Awesome.
that's the reason.
Beautiful. So how? How did you find the purpose to inspire the youth?
Okay. Like obviously when you get into college, you're like, okay, you're gonna go out there, you're going to I tried to coach college. That's what I wanted to do, be a college soccer coach. But the universe had bigger had something bigger than that for me. And I didn't know it at the time, you know? So I started in the gym teaching PE, and with Coach Spears, and I learned a lot from him. But every year I got into it. Every year I kept learning something different, and I added to what I had done the year before. So to answer your question, I think I finally found my purpose maybe 2 years ago when I also teach health. So I teach high school PE, and I have a health class, and I wanted to give value to each kid that I interact with. So I was searching. I started reading more and self help stuff, personal development stuff, and I started applying that to me, and then it just made me feel great. So what I did was, dude, that works for you. Why not you put the same effort that you did into improving you into each kid? So I think my purpose, no, is yeah, I want to win every soccer game. I try my hardest, but apart from that, every kid that I interact with at Tahlequah schools, that goes from the elementary all the way up to the high school. If if I have 30 seconds with them, a minute, whatever, that should be the highlight of their day while they're at school. So my purpose is to make sure that they know there's somebody in the building that really cares.
Mhm.
And if you can do that for one person and that person does it for the next. And I preach that to all my kids at school. And hopefully it rubs off on everybody else.
That
So
is awesome.
that's one of the things that I try to do. Does it work every time? No, because I'm human. But that's my purpose.
Yeah, some of them already have a shield.
Yeah,
Like they don't believe you, but
and
that's
that's
just a
another
beautiful
thing.
music.
I'm glad you said that. Um, when you do this though, when you try to interact with kids and you try to encourage them, you have to be sincere. And if you're not, that shield that you spoke about will always be there, you know. But I'm sincere. Um, I know I'm a little bit scattered, but I've got to share this. In 2014, I had a very traumatic experience. I had headaches at school. While I'm at school, I had headaches. I used to coach girls at the time when I used to think it happens at like just as about when I'm supposed to get the girls for practice. And I used to think, man, these girls are driving me crazy. I get headaches every day. But it turned out that I had a cyst in my head, and I had to get it taken care of. That's what was causing the headaches, not the girls. Well, I went through the process of getting it fixed, and while I was doing that, I had an extended stay in the hospital. I had infections, and I almost died. I had bacterial meningitis, and again, I won't forget it. My wife was looking up stuff, and she found like 8 out of 10 people usually die from this bacterial meningitis, especially. And
Oh my God.
when I realized that, yo, you made it and everything works, you know, I was like, there must be a reason. So I've been much more appreciative for everything than I was before. And then that makes me want to make every moment with everybody. Like if I'm speaking with you, Miss Guthrie, you are going to be the most important person in the world. That's all I look at everything, everybody I deal with. So Um, that again, that's why I am the way I am right now because of my experiences.
Thank you for sharing that experiences, your experience, because we as human need that contrast. We need that contrast in our life to like shake us up a little bit. To
Yes.
hear stories like this, to learn to be, to practice that presence in our life, because sometimes we get too busy, and
Yeah.
because we.
Well, another thing from that too, I've also when I share this story with the kids at school, sometimes I do. I'm not hoping that they get headaches and have and have a bad experience. What I'm hoping is that they'll learn from my experience. I can give them that now. I'm like, yo, don't make the same mistakes that I did. You know, and
Yes,
that's what I do.
that's
So,
beautiful.
so the kids can be successful in the future.
Yes, and they need that inspiration. We all do. Like I said, we need that constant reminders, of listening to stories are different to us, so that we get the contrast where it's like, oh, am I being present? Sometimes we're not, and that's beautiful what you're saying.
I agree.
You practice. Now, you say you have two boys. That's awesome.
Kingston and Cash. Yes.
Experiencing parenting. Now, coming from a different country
Yeah.
and living here in America. And I ask you these questions because I have a mentor
Yeah.
that he gets paid to go talk to families that are immigrants that are struggling to raise their children because they're so strong committed to their culture
Yeah.
that their kids go to school and they want to do what American kids are doing, so it
Yeah.
breaks the family, and sometimes they end up sending them back. So how do you do it? How do you mix?
Hey, I've experienced it. Meaning, while I was in Jamaica, I had cousins who were born in the United States that their parents sent them to Jamaica because they prefer the way the school system, for example, was, or they didn't want their kids to get in as much trouble as they were, so they sent them to Jamaica. Um, and then me, obviously coming here and having kids, my culture, my heritage is really, really important. Like you can tell in the background right here, that's my
Yes,
So I've got to
yes.
say connected to that. My son, Kingston, that's from Kingston, Jamaica. Um, that's his name. But the way I was raised and brought up is it was a different time. It was and the way my parents came up was different than when I was coming up. So each generation does things a little bit differently. Um, I've I've realized that no, I'm in America and I couldn't expect to raise my kids the way I was. But there are some lessons from my background that I still try to
Yeah.
teach them. You know, one of the biggest thing is this. In Jamaica, you have so many different influences culturally, ethnically. You had the Taino people. They were called Arawak Indians as well. They were the first ones. Then the Europeans came. Then the Africans came. Then the Asians came. Then people just came from everywhere in the world, and we were all in Jamaica, which led us came up with the motto, "Out of one, out of many, one people." So when I came here, it was I understood the history of this country, with the segregation stuff and all that. But at the same time, it was a struggle for me because where I'm from, it doesn't matter what you look like, it doesn't matter what you sound like, it doesn't matter what kind of food you're eating. We're all the same. So that's a lesson I teach my kids. Hey, man, it doesn't matter what that person looks like or whatever. They're
Mhm.
just that's one important thing. That's one of the reasons I think I get along with so many people easily because we're all human beings, man. Um, we in back home as well. We have a huge influence from like England. So proper etiquette. So if you call, if, if I walk into a building, I were to see someone, I'll say good morning, good afternoon, good night, good evening, something like that.
Mhm.
It's not so much um, practice here as much. Yeah. So,
Yes.
so even in your own home, when you see someone at home, you say, hey, good morning.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I try to teach a little bit of that, not to forget.
Uh-huh.
If I
Good.
meet in our schools, every single person that's in charge, a teacher or whatever, it's Miss, Sir. That's how we address them.
Mhm.
And it can be, yeah, no. So I've caught myself sometimes and I say, Kingston, he goes, what? I said, really? And even with my boys at school, my soccer boys, yeah, so
Huh.
that's still in me. We've got to learn how to address people, you
Mhm.
know, good manners.
Good.
I try to do that with my soccer boys at school, and I don't think they get it sometimes, but eventually they will.
They will, yeah.
Yeah. Um, Another thing is I've learned how to accept people for what they are and who they are. You know, um,
Hmm.
nobody is perfect, so I can't act like, oh, you have to be like me.
Hmm.
If that's what you want to do, as long as you're not causing harm to yourself or anybody else, I'll support you. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
Yes, yes, yes. You don't stress out a lot about it has to be the same way I grew up because you said your wife is from here, so you guys have to like you co-parent your children
yeah,
in
um,
whatever is best for them.
I'll share something with you too. So my wife, every Christmas, every Christmas, she'll say, "Greg, Mom wants to have your Christmas list, or Dad wants to have your Christmas list," and I struggle because that's not something we do back home.
Yeah.
Christmas time back home, you get with your friends that morning, whatever day it is, you go to the soccer field and you play all day. When you're tired, you go home, shower up, and you start. You start. Hey, I'm going to your house, and we're going to eat. It's
Yeah.
We really don't buy gifts per se. So what I still do here for my kids, you know,
Because you adopted,
yeah,
it's good for them
yeah.
to follow the culture.
I've taken them back to Jamaica one time, and I wish I did more than once, but we will. Everybody blames COVID. I'm gonna blame COVID for
COVID.
when we didn't go in 2020. We were planning on going, but I try to. I tell stories.
Good.
I tell stories. I sing songs. I won't sing or tell a story right now, but I share stuff with my boys. You know, I play music because
Good.
I think it's important for
Yes.
to be connected to where you're from. But don't forget it. Know where you are and kind of like blend both worlds.
I love what you just said, blend both worlds. Because in my case,
Yeah,
we also have two cultures.
yeah,
And whenever my oldest one was about, well, he was going to middle school, I think. And I heard a story, somebody from here, from America, saying, no, similar situation, but in this case, it was father was African American, the mom was Caucasian,
yeah,
so he didn't know where to belong,
yeah,
even though like here, like he was born here, he didn't know where to belong. And he grew up that way because family members would say, no, you're white, no, you're black, no. And so he grew up all confused. So his story
yeah,
taught me to teach my oldest, my oldest one at that time, where it's like, listen, you have two cultures to choose from.
yeah,
You don't have to choose sides. It's like you get to choose the best from each culture and you just adopt it into your life. But you don't have no, I didn't want him to feel like he had to choose.
yeah,
And that's just what you were saying, is like a blend culture. It's like
It,
you choose the best.
you just blend in.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
one of the things is my wife, she's Caucasian. Yeah, and her when I'm with her family, I've never ever felt like different. If anything, they're like, Greg, how do you do? Our assistant
Mhm.
will say, can you make this? Because I love cooking. And that's the thing, that's another thing. We have like being in Tahlequah for me, I've noticed that the culture and with the Native Americans, and I'm like, hold on, they make this fry bread deal. What's in it? We make the same thing in Jamaica, but we don't call it fry bread. You know
Oh,
what I mean? We have
yes.
so many things as different as we are. We have so many things that are common. You'd be surprised. I'm talking about whatever race. So we're all the
I
same.
agree.
We're all the
I
same.
agree. Yes, we have more things in common than we think.
Yes, ma'am.
I totally agree. So let's move up to the youth.
Yeah.
What are some of the challenges you see in our youth?
Okay. Again, I look at my son, for example, Kingston. He's going to be a freshman in high school, and I'm like, I try to have conversations with him. I observe him because he's my kid. I pay attention, and that's one of the things as a teacher, and you see the kids that are functioning at a high level at school. You see they have you have parent teachers conferences, and the kids who are doing really well, their parents are there. So I've learned a little bit of parenting from being a teacher. I'm like, what does that family do? And I'm like, all right. So I'm observing. I'm being a part of my son's life, and I'm not being a friend. I be a friend sometimes, but sometimes I've got to be that person. I'm like, hey man. So my role, not just for him, but for every kid, is to make sure to give them experiences that when they get out of the high school, they can look back and be like, "Oh, that's what they were talking about." And we have to help them to be able to think critically. You know, um,
Yes.
don't just give them, "Hey, here's this skill. Do that test, and then make an A, and you're good." How can you apply that to to the outside world? So that's one of my things that I'm going to try to do a better job of this year, adding value to. Hey man, let's have a conversation, because every kid is doing this. Adults are too, but sometimes put it down and let's have a conversation, because in the real world, when you go for that job interview, you can't text your answers to the person interview. You got to look them in the eye, and answer,
Yes.
speak. So that's one thing. How are you going to add value to the kids at school that they know when they get out? Another thing is that I've thought about is school is absolutely important, phenomenal. Every kid needs to be here. Everything they're giving them is important. But the best example is like if you go to a restaurant, you can get a menu and you can order off that menu, which is fine. That's going to be good. But if you say to the waiter, hey man, what's the special back there? Can you guys whip this up? We have to, as teachers, as leaders, we have to find that special stuff that's not on the menu. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's what I that's what I do. Just adding.
That's beautiful. Yes, and you do an amazing job.
Well,
You do an amazing job.
I try.
Uh, yes, it's like the communication skills.
Yeah,
Yes, it's
that's
like
that's important. That's really, really important. And two, when I were in high school, however many years ago, and my teachers were preparing me. They were preparing me for what they thought was the future, right? No,
yes,
the future has changed. The future for these kids in high school looks a lot different than what it was for me. So we have
yes,
to prepare them for what, you know, the technology, the jobs that aren't even out there yet. the jobs that they can create, you know? So that's the mindset I'm in.
That's beautiful. And you know what? Is like their brain hasn't fully developed. So sometimes as teachers, there is a frustration where it's like you're trying to communicate something.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if that happened to you, but they end up understanding something different.
yeah, yeah, I do. I do. And it comes with experience. Like sometimes we give up on kids. I have before. And we're like, oh, he's not getting it. It's not that he's not getting it. It's just we're not using the right tool. So if we, all right, that didn't work, that method didn't work, he didn't get it. All right, let's try something else. And we keep trying and we keep trying. Well, that's what I'll hope someone would do for my son.
Yes.
So I do the same for everybody else. Just just try, just pour it into them. And someday, kind of like um my mom, when growing up, we go wherever we went, when we got back to the house, she'd say, go wash your hands. Wash your hands. Every time we do so, right? We go outside, whatever. And in my mind, I'm like, I know I'm supposed to. Why you tell me I got to do? I know. I didn't dare say it though because you know it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know.
so, well, guess what I'm doing? I do the same thing to my kids. So I'm
Repeating a pattern.
I'm,
Yeah.
but don't worry about it. Don't feel bad that you're being repetitive. That's why we go to practice. We do the same thing over. It's not going to be perfect, yeah, or else we wouldn't have to practice. But we try to get better each time. And you may teach the same lesson in a different way. The objectives are the same, but you find a different way to get that message across.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to mention something before we move on to the next question.
Yes, ma'am.
Through my studies of self development
Yeah.
and brain health, everybody, everybody wants to feel accepted.
Yeah.
And the behind that acceptance, they all want to be loved.
Yeah.
And what I love, what you practice, is that you accept everybody.
You have to.
But you have to, but not all of us are skilled like you are. That's what I'm bringing it up, because a lot of us, I'm including myself,
Yeah.
have to learn to walk out there accepting everybody, as in, like you said, we're all, like we're all connected, we're all similar. And it's something that you do. That's what I'm like highlighting it, because I'm thinking of those children that they show up to school,
Yeah.
and all they want is they want to feel the acceptance, and behind the acceptance is truly is love. Think of a puppy, or,
Yeah.
a kitty cat, that it's just looking for that affection. And you do it, like, I love how your attitude does it,
Well,
because you accept them.
so after, like I said, I still consider myself pretty new at this, even though I'm starting my 17th year. But there were a couple things that have a huge impact on the way I am. So I the most important person or people in the school are the kids. You have to realize that. And then if they aren't here, then we wouldn't be here. So when you've grasped that, you kind of like realize the significance of each kid. No, every kid isn't the same. So you've got to find a way to connect with each one. So one may like drawing, one dude may like something different, and I use whatever they like. That's kind of like the whole, you have to use the right bait. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
for me, like let's say for example, the soccer boys, they love soccer. So that's the bait that gets them in. But while we're in soccer and we practice and stuff, I'm gonna teach them something like, "Hey man, did you tell your mom you love her today? It's important that you give people their flowers while they're alive. Did you tell the bus driver thank you for just little things like that? Not a lot. They'll start to block you up, but every once in a while. So that's another thing. So I've realized that they are important, and I treat each kid as they're the most important people here. Another thing that I do is um, when I go in the gym in the mornings. You've heard the story about burning your boats.
No.
Yeah, it's like a what do you call those Vikings when they go.
Oh, yes, yes. Burn your boats. Yes, I've yes.
So I kind of adopted a version of that in the classroom. So when I walk in the gym, I yell. I'll say, "Yo!" That's like me, like saying, "I'm in the building. I'm coming. You better pay attention to me," you know. And
Yeah.
then that usually gets them, and I'll just get them connected to me. Hey, give me all your attention. And then
Mhm.
um, I do I don't try to let I don't act like I'm perfect. Usually a kid will do something at school and I'll say, "Hey man, you know who invented that move? I did." So you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that's nothing new. So I know a few of the tricks. I've
Yeah.
done that too. I've skipped school. I've not done homework. I understand, you know. And
Mhm.
another term, I'm all over, but just bear with me.
Go ahead. No, it's good.
Um, During COVID, when we came back to school, my number one goal was not to stress the kids out because there's so many other things out there that were going to stress them out.
Yes.
Sometimes a kid just wants you to listen.
Yes.
Hey man, and they tell you all kinds of stuff. I've played Pokemon with kids. I got no idea. I've played Pokemon cards.
Oh,
I won't forget it, man. You have to do what it takes to let them know that they're important and them that they're the most important people in the building. And then when you have that interaction with them and you see them move on and become successful and you're at Walmart, my wife hates going to the store with me because kids are just and I it's a blessing. It's a blessing for me to work with them.
that's
That's
beautiful. You're creating those connections. You're making sure that there is that connection between you and
that's
the
it.
student.
Sincerely making those connections.
Mhm.
So again, we can say we connect with them and make it real and let them know, hey, I've been in your situation before. Here's how we're going to maneuver through whatever the problem is. Yeah. And
Yes.
I've coined this saying like, there's not really a problem. Peace in the Middle East, that's a problem. But whatever comes up at school, we can fix it.
Yes.
We can find a solution. So that's just Greg Hall, a little bit of Greg Hall right there.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, my next question was going to be what message do you think the parents need to hear? Which is about what you were just saying, connection, but is there anything you can add?
Oh, well, again, I can use me as an example. Um, Sometimes the kids just want you to. Okay, so I coach girls. I coached girls, and coaching girls had made me a better husband because
Ah,
I was so patient. And one lesson from some of the stuff that I've read was, and I've applied. I'll make my point in a sec. And I've applied some of the stuff that I've learned as from school. That kids have taught me. So if you can listen to them, and they're not just saying snap this or whatever. They got something important to say. We have to listen to them. and give them their opportunity to speak. Don't talk over them sometimes, Every once in a while, you're going to be like, all right, but listen to them, hear what they're saying, you know? Um, and that's when I had some of my best, most successful years of coaching. When I coached the girls, and they were like, "Coach, oh, we like when," and I'm like, that makes sense. Because if you just constantly be like, no, 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 they'll stop talking. They won't tell you anything. So listen to them. Have fun with them. You know, be a part of whatever. I've taken a friend of mine's advice. I was totally against video games. So he's like, you know, that's how they communicate. You got to speak their language. So I bought one for my boys, and I'm learning how to play video games, because
Mhm.
that's their language. You got to speak in their language. So just be flexible.
Okay.
Again, and some of this stuff is like, because I've used my son as an example. And if he's going through this, I'm sure there's more people. If I'm going through this, so um, it goes by quickly. It does.
Yes.
So spend lots of time with them. Come to their come to their programs at school. Doesn't matter what it is. Be involved. You know, don't just be involved when they're in trouble. Be involved constantly. So I think we should have a part two to this.
Yes, yes, we should.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. What is your favorite part of coaching? Like, what's your favorite part of like waking up every morning? And I know you're inspired to go
Oh,
uh,
I remember.
inspire your children, but I mean the children. But what moves you? Like, what's your favorite? What flavors the day?
Like, I remember last year we I'll be at practice we're at practice here, and I'm thinking, man, we're not getting it. We're not getting it. And we're going to practice every day, and we see each other, and we do our thing, and I'm like, man, they can do more. They can do more. But one of the biggest compliments was from one of the boys last year. He was a JV player, and he wanted to go to the game with us, a varsity game. And he's sitting on the bench, and we we had a game plan, and we worked at it here, and we got to the game, and we're doing it. And he said to me, "Coach, that's exactly what you said was going to happen." And the boys were executing to the T. And I was like, dude, it's working. Another thing is what another part that gets me going too, man, is if you look at the scoreboard for your only means of success, yeah, that's important. But when you see the dudes that you've and the girls that you've coached, and they've graduated, and they come back, and they're telling stories about, you remember when you were doing this, and yeah,
Okay.
yeah, see the smiles, like Melissa Vega is one of my most memorable stories. Yeah, I was so cold at practice, and she's like, "Coach, you got stuff on your face, yeah?" And I'm trying to get it, and she said, "Coach," and she walked up to me and stuck her finger in my nose, and all the girls were like, "Ah!"
Ah,
Yeah, those stories when we won a game, and I couldn't hold my emotions back. I cried on the sideline. Yeah,
um,
I've got kicked out of a game, and I went behind the bleachers and cried. I went back in the locker room when we made the play, when I coached the girls, and we used to get killed easily, and then we eventually flipped it, and we won a game. We scored 10 goals, and the girls didn't know. The ref blew the game off with like 30 minutes left, and the girls are like, "Coach, what are we supposed to do?" those moments, those moments,
Uh,
when they're, I guess, when you see your kids, your students successful, when they're having success. I went
yeah.
throughout and finally figured it out.
Because you get to see them practice, in the cold, in the rain, in the hot heat, and
When,
then
when the kids are successful.
yeah, you
Right.
see the progress.
If I could make another point,
Yes.
it would be this. And I do it too. Kingston plays basketball, footballs, and he used to play soccer. And we take him to all these sporting events. Absolutely phenomenal. But there should be a balance in, all right, how about the other aspects in his life? Yeah, academically, socially. So make sure we try to get them involved so they're not, so they're more rounded as a person, as a student.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yes.
yeah, so that's some of the things. I love the success. Be more, be more, be more involved in their lives, and expose them to more stuff. Yeah, so they can have a good balance. Yeah, that's that's
How do you recharge as a parent? I love what you're saying. I love how you're saying. How do you realign as a parent sometimes? At times where it's like, how am I showing up as a parent? Do you
okay. Um, well, as a parent, how do I realign? No, I've got to. How you want to be treated? You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
when I were, would I want my dad to do this? And again, I've learned from just observing parents that comes to school and interact with their kids, and I go to games and I see parents on the side take, yeah, I learn, I watch and observe because I don't have all the answers. And
Yes.
anytime you think you do, that's your demise. So I constantly keep learning and like for example, getting that video game so I can, yeah,
Spend. Mhm.
interact with them. So just constant learning. Ask questions. Hey, when your son did this, what, you know,
Mhm.
uh,
Yes.
you got to be able to put your ego aside sometimes, and your son may have a real positive relationship with the math teacher or the English teacher. You talk to that teacher and be like, hey, how's he doing? Because he doesn't talk to me, and the teacher would say, hey, he's doing fine, or he needs help. So
Mhm.
even though you're going to be um, try to spend quality time with them, you want to give them their space as well so they can blossom and bloom and flourish and become their own individual. And you can watch from a distance. And if they're you'll know when to step in. But you need to be involved, but not there every time. You know what I mean? So
Yes, yes. I'm glad you share this with us because the first thing that pops into my mind is like, yeah, we're not perfect and we have blind spots that we have to work
oh,
on. We have rules we grew up with and we adopted through our life, and we're trying to apply them to our children. And sometimes those rules they're expired, they don't work anymore.
hey, I'm a simple guy. I look at it this way. When when I'm coaching and I'm on the sideline, and in my mind, the image I'm portraying is like stoic, and be like, yeah, I'm the guy. I'm in charge, and I know everything. But when you see the video of you on the sideline, you're like animated, doing all kinds of stuff. It's the same thing. When when as a parent, you've got to, hey, take advice sometimes. You have to be able to get criticism from your spouse, from your kids. Dad, can you know what I mean? So sometimes you think you're portraying one image, but it can be something different. So it's okay to get advice. It's okay
Yes.
for people to be critical as long as they're trying to help.
Be
So
humble, right?
yeah, man.
Go back to be humble.
And back to the story with my injury. You appreciate the little things so much more now. I do so much more now. Um, some stuff is not a big deal. Some things are, but you got to pick your battles. Yeah,
Thanks for sharing. Yes. What's your future looks like?
my future. Well, like I said, um, we're approaching 15 years. I hope I can say, oh, we're approaching 50. You know what I mean? Uh,
Yes.
that's number one, honestly. My
Growth.
boys, I want my boys to be successful in whatever they choose to do. You know what I mean? Um,
Yes.
and I hope I can continue to do what I'm doing now or add to it to work with kids and affect them in a positive way for as long as possible.
That's beautiful. And they need it. They need you. They need the positive.
I need them too. Yeah. So that's what I want to do, man.
Yay. That's awesome. I mean, it's what you're doing already. You just want to magnify it a little bit more.
like how you
So
said. I like how you said that. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
because you've
I,
been able to nurture, your marriage for almost 15 years, and
yeah.
here we go again. You've learned, you've
Oh yeah.
observed what works, what doesn't work, and then as the kids get older, new stages of your marriage, uh, it's going to flow by. So we have to learn to see how to handle that. And
Yes, ma'am. I agree. So I want to be healthy. I want to be happy, and I want to be here to continue to do the stuff that I'm doing and keep adding value. Keep adding value. So
And you do. I mean, I remember I would I'd try to advise my son. He was like, "Yeah, Coach Holt said that." Oh, really? So I mean, I love this because they might not listen to the parents at times,
yes,
but they
yes,
might listen to you because you are watering the seeds.
yeah. I've that's happened to me before. Yeah, coach.
Yeah.
Whatever someone said, I've been saying that.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of whenever you're inspiring, you're planting seeds,
yeah,
and it doesn't mean that we'll get to water them all. You get to water them all,
yeah,
but they'll listen similar, information that you're sharing, and then their lights will begin to light up, and it make those connections where it's like, oh yeah.
yeah. Hey,
So
Miss 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 Guthrie, like I've told you this before. I think what you're doing is absolutely phenomenal,
thank you.
and I hope you get an opportunity to do it to more people, speak with more people, maybe in the
Thank you.
school environment, Um, but I've seen the growth, yeah, and
Thank you.
continue to do you, man. That's
Thank
absolutely
you.
awesome.
Awesome. Well, now that you're sharing this, I'm going to share with the audience that one of the biggest reasons we're here
Yeah,
is because a couple of years ago, I saw you at a birthday party, and I was telling you my project. And you said you should do a podcast, Miss Guthrie.
yeah,
And I looked at you and I said, who would listen to me here in Tahlequah?
yeah.
And you looked at me and you say, there is people outside of Tahlequah.
I said that.
You said that, and look at us now. I mean, there
Oh,
is people in Canada that there's all over the world watching this TV show right now, and it's like you get. I mean, I had to borrow your confidence
Miss Guthrie,
years back.
um, I'm a strong believer in. Some people call it all kinds of different things. I just said the universe. The- I didn't plan on being in Talcoa. The universe just said, "Hey, that's where you're going to be." You could fight it all you want. You know what I mean? And then
Yes,
that's just something that I've always done. And then the more that I'm getting into self development and self improvement, and how you can use that, I'm reading about positive thinking. You know what I mean? And I've seen it where, like this job I have right now. I used to be a soccer referee, and I used to ref Talco High School games. And while I'm refing the games, I'm saying to myself, I could coach this team. Yeah.
Yes.
Next thing I know, I'm coaching this team.
You are coaching with you.
I
Yay.
gotta tell you this one too. So when I came here, this is important. What you think, that seed you plant. You may not, you planted sometimes you don't even know you did. So in 2001, when I was playing at Northeastern, my first road game was at was in Kansas City. We were going to play Missouri, a couple games in Kansas City, and the team, the men's team and the women's team were traveling on the same bus. It was a nice charter bus. Back in Jamaica at the time, the only teams that traveled on a charter bus were national teams. So in my mind, I'm saying I'm a national player. I'm that level. That's what I told myself, right? So I'm sitting on the bus at the field getting ready to leave. And Coach Mitchell, Coach Charlie Mitchell, came on the bus and he checked with the guys and checked with the girls. And then he went back and sat in his seat. And the driver said to him, Coach, are we ready? And Coach Mitchell said, yeah, let's go. And in my mind, I won't forget it. I said, I wonder what that would feel like, being the guy in charge, right?
Mhm.
Fast forward to 2010. I got a phone call from our athletic director, and Northeastern men's program were looking for an interim head coach just for that season, and they called our AD and our superintendent and my principal, Miss Mashburn, um, our superintendent, Mike Adams, and they all said, "All right, Greg, we'll work with you," and they allowed me to go be the head coach for Northeastern State men's soccer team for one just to for the season. Well, the first game I was in charge of was going to be a road game in Laredo, Texas. So here comes a big charter bus, right?
Yes.
And everybody's on the bus and they're waiting for me. I pulled up and I'm like, yeah, I'm the head coach, yeah. And I put my stuff on, and then I walked on the bus, make sure the boys were good. The GA Nate was a phenomenal graduate assistant. He said he said, yeah, we're good to go. And the driver said to me, Coach, are you ready? And I said, yeah. And it dawned on me. I remember when I thought
That
that.
moment.
Yeah. So
I
what you
love that you
first?
share. Yeah. We only have a minute left, but it's like, what would it be like if? I love that because that's part of my research that I'm very interested in working on.
Let's do
But
a part two. Let's do a part two.
yeah, let's do a part two. So, any last message you want to say before we go?
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. I hope you all found a word of inspiration, a phrase. You can find videos on my YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Thank you all for being here. Blessings to you all, and we'll see you soon. This show can also be heard in Spanglish Radio Network. Please check out the SpanglishWorld.ca for all news and programming. Spanglish World Network. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it.
Nice
Thank
job.
you all.